How am I going to get rich more? I don't want my wealth to finish. I need to visit spiritual mother.
Welcome, my son. If you want to get more money, you have to sleep with mad women.
Ad was one of the richest men in Lagos. He lived in a tall house in Ikoyi, drove big cars, and people bowed when he passed. Yet Ad was never happy. Every night, as the city's noise faded and the generator hums filled the air, he felt fear in his heart. He believed his money could disappear one day. In Lagos, wealth comes fast, but it can also leave fast. One night, an old street whisper reached Ade's ears. People said there was a strange secret in Lagos's dark way to get more wealth. They said a man must lie beside mad women at night, not for love, but as a sacrifice to unseen spirits. Ade laughed at first, but the fear of losing his riches was stronger than his pride. That night, he decided to find the truth, even if it would change his life forever. Ade went to the old part of Lagos Island, where the roads were narrow and the air smelled of herbs and dust. There, people talked about a woman called Mama Sad. She was old, bent, and her eyes looked like they had seen many secrets. Some said she was mad, others said she only acted mad to hide her power. Ade found her sitting near a broken shop, drawing strange signs on the ground. Mama Sad looked at Ade and laughed before he spoke. She told him his money had a dark shadow and that his fear was calling bad spirits. She said wealth can be fed just like a child, but the food is not sweet. She warned him that the path he wanted would give him more money, but take his peace. Ade felt cold, but he still asked how. Mama Sad pointed toward the mainland slums and said, "Your next step is there. If you are brave, you will lie where others fear to sleep." Ade followed Mama Sad's words and went to Mushin, where the night never truly sleeps. Music, shouting, and sirens mixed in the air. Behind an old abandoned house, he met ********, a woman everyone called Mad. She talked to herself and laughed at the moon. People avoided her, but Mama Sayed had told Ade her spirit was open to the unseen world. Ade's heart beat fast as he stood there, holding his breath. That night, Ade did not touch Bisi. He only lay beside her on a thin mat, just as Mama Sad instructed. Bisi sang strange songs and whispered names he had never heard. When morning came, Ade felt weak but alive. As he returned home, his phone rang again and again. A big business deal he had waited for years suddenly went through. Ade smiled, but deep inside, fear grew, because he knew this was only the beginning. After the first night, Ade's wealth began to grow faster than ever. New contracts came without stress. Old debts were paid back with extra money. In Lagos, people started calling him Golden Ade because everything he touched turned to profit. But his sleep changed. Every night, he dreamed of dirty roads, broken houses, and women laughing in the dark. He would wake up sweating, hearing whispers even when the room was quiet. Mama Sad sent for him again. She told Ade the spirits were now awake and hungry. One mad woman was not enough. If he wanted the money to keep flowing, he must continue, each night stronger than the last. Ade looked at his bank alerts and nodded. He told himself it was just for a short time. But in Lagos, when greed enters the heart, it never plans to leave. Ade's second journey took him to Agege, where the roads were rough and the streetlights barely worked. There, he met NGOs, a mad woman known for her loud laughter. She laughed in the day, laughed in the rain, and laughed at nothing. People said her laughter chased away bad luck or called it closer. Ade felt uncomfortable, but Mama Sad's words rang in his ears. "Do not fear. Just lie and listen." That night, Ngozi laughed until tears rolled down her face. She spoke about rivers under Lagos and money buried in dreams. Ade lay still, staring at the ceiling of the broken room. By morning, his phone showed another miracle. An old land he forgot about had suddenly doubled in value. Ade felt powerful, but also trapped. He knew the spirits were counting his nights, and there was no turning back now. Ade was now richer than many politicians in Lagos, His house grew bigger, his cars grew newer, and his name opened doors without questions. But his face changed. The smile people once knew became forced, and his eyes always looked tired. Even in crowded places like Balagan Market, Agege felt alone, as if something invisible was walking beside him. At night, he began to hear voices even when he was not with any madwoman. The voices counted money, laughed, and called his name. Mama Saad warned him again, saying the spirits were no longer just helping him, they were living through him. Agege tried to ignore the fear. In Lagos, people respect success, not peace. So he prepared himself for the next night, even though his heart was already heavy. Age's next step led him near the Lagos Lagoon, where the water smells old and secrets hide under the waves. There lived Zainab, a quiet madwoman who spoke only to the water. People said she used to be beautiful before something broke her mind. She sat near the lagoon every night, dipping her fingers into the dark water and whispering prayers nobody understood. That night, Agege lay beside Zainab on a cold wooden floor. She did not laugh or sing. She only looked at him and said, "Money flows like water, but water can drown." Agege felt a deep fear enter his chest. When morning came, he received the biggest alert of his life. Millions entered his account at once. Agege shook with joy and fear together, because he knew the spirits were now closer than ever. Age's wife, Kemi, was a calm woman who loved quiet mornings and prayers. She enjoyed the money, but she noticed the change in her husband. Agege no longer slept well. Sometimes he talked in his sleep, calling names she did not know. His body was always cold, even in Lagos heat. Kemi began to fear that their wealth had a bad source. One night, Kemi followed Agege without his knowledge. She saw him enter a dark area near the lagoon and disappear. When he returned before dawn, his clothes smelled of water and smoke. Kemi's heart shook. She did not ask questions yet, but she decided to seek answers. In Lagos, when money grows too fast, wisdom must grow faster, or disaster will follow. Kemi went to Yaba to meet Auntie Ruth, a prayer woman known for helping people with strange problems. Auntie Ruth listened quietly as Kemi spoke about Age's dreams, his cold body, and his secret nights. She closed her eyes and prayed, then opened them with fear. She said some wealth comes with invisible chains, and those chains were already around Age's soul. Auntie Ruth warned to Kemi that the mad women were not truly mad. They were broken vessels used by dark forces that feed on fear and greed. She said, if Agege did not stop soon, the spirits would ask for a final payment, something money cannot buy. Kemi cried and begged for a solution. Auntie Ruth told her, first, the truth must come out. Secrets give power to darkness. That night, Kemi confronted Agege in their big house. She locked the door and stood in front of him with tears in her eyes. Agege tried to laugh it off, but when she mentioned Mushin, Agege, and the lagoon, his body froze. The room became quiet, and even the generator outside seemed to stop. Agege knew he could not hide anymore. Agege fell to the floor and confessed everything. He spoke about Mama Saad, the mad women, and the wealth that followed each night. He said he wanted to stop, but was afraid the money would vanish, or worse, that the spirits would punish him. Kemi listened in pain, holding her chest. She told him wealth without peace is a curse. For the first time, Agege cried because he knew she was right. The next morning, Agege and Kemi went to see Mama Saad together. The old woman sat in her usual spot, drawing strange signs on the dusty ground. When she saw Agege, she didn't smile. Her eyes were sharp, like lightning ready to strike. She said, "You have taken too much, and the spirits are hungry. They will not stop at money. They want your life, your soul, and your peace." Mama Saad told Agege that there was only one way to survive. He must return to every mad woman he had visited and apologize to them, not with money, but with honesty and respect. The spirits would then forgive him, but it would not be easy. Each woman held a part of the power that had grown inside him. Agege swallowed hard. In Lagos, facing your mistakes is harder than earning millions, and this was the hardest night of his life. Ade's heart pounded as he returned to Mush, the place where it all began. Bisi, the first madwoman, was sitting on the same thin mat, humming to herself as if she knew he was coming. Ade approached slowly, holding his hands in front of him like a child asking for forgiveness. He whispered, "Bisi, I am sorry. I have used you, and I want to make it right." Bisi stopped humming and looked at him with quiet eyes. She did not smile, but she nodded once, slowly. That night, Ade felt a strange calm for the first time in months. It was as if the weight on his chest had lifted slightly. When he returned home, his phone alerts were smaller than before, but he did not care. For the first time, peace felt heavier than money, and Lagos seemed less frightening in the morning light. Next, Ade went to Agege to find Ngozi, the madwoman whose laughter once shook him to his bones. She sat under a broken mango tree, laughing at nothing, the wind moving her hair wildly. Ade knelt before her and said, "Ngozi, I am sorry. I took from you what was not mine. Please forgive me." Then Ngozi stopped laughing for a moment, and then a soft giggle escaped her lips. "You are finally awake," she whispered. That night, as Ade lay beside her without fear or greed, he felt the spirits leave a small part of him. The money he had gained felt lighter, but his heart felt stronger. Lagos seemed quieter, the city noises less scary, and he realized forgiveness, not wealth, could calm the restless night. Ade and Kemi walked together to the lagoon to find Zainab. The water shimmered under the moonlight, hiding secrets in its dark waves. Zainab sat silently, staring at the reflection of the city lights. Ade's voice shook as he said, "Zainab, I am sorry. I was wrong to take what I should not have. Please forgive me." Zainab slowly turned to look at him. Her eyes were deep, like the lagoon itself, and for a moment, Ade felt as if she could see inside his soul. Then she whispered, "Truth is heavy, but it frees those who carry it." That night, Ade lay beside her, listening to the water instead of whispers. By morning, a strange calm spread through his body. Lagos felt softer, and the shadows in his heart began to fade. But he knew one final journey remained, the one that would test everything he had left. Mama Sad sent Ade to the last madwoman who lived on the outskirts of Lagos near a place no taxi dared to go. Her name was Halima, and she was feared even among the other mad women. People whispered that she could see the past and future in your eyes and that nothing could hide from her. Ade felt fear climb his spine, but Kemi held his hand tightly. "Together," she whispered, and he nodded. When Ade spoke to Halima, he dropped to his knees. "I am sorry for everything," he said. Halima stared at him for a long moment, then smiled faintly, a smile that sent shivers through his body. She raised her hand and touched his forehead. A wave of heat and light passed through him, and he felt the chains of greed and fear break. Lagos seemed to breathe with him, the city noises blending into a soft rhythm. That night, Ade finally slept without whispers, without fear, and without the heavy weight of cursed wealth. The next morning, Ade woke up to the Lagos sun shining through his tall Ikoyi windows. For the first time in years, he did not reach for his phone or count money. Instead, he listened to the birds outside and smelled the breakfast Kemi was preparing. The city that never sleeps seemed to smile at him, as if forgiving him for his greed. Ade knew he could still be rich, but now he understood the difference between wealth that feeds the soul and wealth that devours it. He held Kemi's hand and promised himself he would never chase money through darkness again. As they walked through the streets of Lagos, people greeted Ade warmly, sensing a change in him. His heart was finally free, and for the first time, Ade felt that true richness was not in his bank, but in the peace he had fought to earn. Even though Ade had changed, the streets of Lagos whispered reminders of his past deeds. Sometimes, at night, he thought he saw shadows of the mad women in the corners of his rooms. His heart raced, but he realized the whispers were not threats. they were lessons. Every night, Lagos reminded him that greed may give you wealth, but only respect and honesty give peace. One evening, while walking through Balogan Market, Ade saw Bisi laughing softly at a distance, Ngozi dancing in her usual playful way, and Zainab staring at the lagoon, smiling. Instead of fear, he felt gratitude. He realized that the women had not been curses. They were mirrors showing him what his heart had become. That night, Ade prayed for all of Lagos, thanking the city for teaching him the hardest lesson of all, that true wealth is measured by love, courage, and forgiveness. A few weeks later, Lagos prepared for a big festival. The streets were filled with music, laughter, and dancing. Ade and Kemi joined the crowd, feeling lighter than they had in years. People waved, children ran past them, and the city felt alive with energy. For the first time, Ade celebrated not because of money, but because he was finally free. During the festival, Ade saw Mama Sad at a distance, sitting calmly as if she had been watching over him all along. She gave him a small nod, and he understood. It was her way of saying he had passed the test. That night, as Lagos glowed with lanterns and music echoed through the alleys, Ade held Kemi close and whispered, "We are rich in the way that truly matters." The city seemed to hum back, approving his words, and for the first time, Lagos felt like home in every sense. Even after the festival, Ade felt a shadow following him. At first it was small, a flicker in the corner of his eyes, a soft whisper at night, but slowly it grew heavier. One evening, he saw a dark figure by the lagoon, just beyond Zainab's usual spot. His heart pounded. Could the spirits he had once used for wealth be returning? Kemi held his hand and whispered, "Fear is only power if you give it to it." Ade realized that he could not undo the past, but he could face it with courage. He walked toward the shadow, not to fight, but to accept. The figure vanished into the water with a soft ripple, leaving behind a faint glow. For the first time, Ade felt that even the darkest part of his journey could end peacefully if met with honesty. Ade began sharing his story with close friends and neighbors in Lagos. He spoke of greed, fear, and the dark shortcuts he had taken. Some laughed, some frowned, but many listened, fascinated by how a man could lose and regain his soul. He even helped some mad women find safe places to live, offering them food and respect instead of fear. People started calling him Wise Ade instead of Golden Ade. His wealth became smaller, yes, but his life grew bigger. Lagos itself seemed kinda as if the city approved of his new path. Ade finally understood that a legacy is not measured in money or land, but in the lives you touch and the hearts you change. One quiet morning, Ade and Kemi sat on the balcony of their Ikoyi home, watching the sunrise over the Lagos skyline. The city was noisy, alive, but inside their hearts, there was peace. Ade no longer feared shadows, spirits, or lost wealth. The city had tested him, and he had survived, not as a rich man, but as a man who understood life. That day, he walked through the streets without fear, greeting traders, children, and neighbors. Even the wind seemed lighter, the sun warmer, and the Lagos Lagoon sparkled brighter than ever. Ade realized that happiness was not bought, borrowed, or stolen. It was earned through courage, respect, and forgiveness. Months passed, and Ade became a quiet legend in Lagos. Children whispered about the rich man who had faced mad women, spirits, and his own greed, and returned changed. Traders, neighbors, and even strangers respected him, not for his wealth, but for his wisdom. One evening, Kemi asked him, "Do you miss the old life?" Ade smiled, looking at the sunset reflecting on the lagoon. "I was never rich before. Now, I am richer than I ever dreamed. I have peace, love, and Lagos as my teacher. That is wealth no one can take." And with that, Ade finally slept through the night, fully free, knowing he had learned the hardest lesson of all. The true measure of a man is not in what he owns, but in the courage, honesty, and love he carries in his heart.